The Microsoft Entra importer allows you to bring users from your Microsoft 365 across to Contactzilla with their contact details. I'm going to show you how to do this. If you head across to Import, you will see the Microsoft Entra ID Premium Importer. If this isn't available on your account, send a support request to us and we can enable it. There is a small cost associated with this, but you're welcome to try it before and see how it works for your organization. So when it's enabled, you click through into the Entra ID importer and click Import Microsoft Entra ID. At this point, it will ask you to connect to Microsoft Entra through an OAuth connector. It's important to pick the Microsoft Entra importer. You can use the Microsoft default connector, but it will request permissions from your Microsoft tenant that you don't necessarily need to give it. The Microsoft Entra importer one will scope it to just the required permissions to read contacts, and it won't give access to write contacts or change anything. So we're going to click that. I've already got one connected, but I will go through the flow to demonstrate this. So we click Add Connection here, and then hit the Connect button. That's going to allow me to pick an account, and then it's going to show me permissions requested, and I click Consent and Accept. You'll then see the connection listed here, and at that point you can click Continue. Before you do that though, what you'll need to do is get some relevant information from your Entra tenant. So if you come across to entra.microsoft.com, the first thing you will need is the tenant ID, and this appears on the dashboard and you can copy this here. I'll keep this for the next step and just show you the other steps. So what you want to do, and this is only the first time you do this, but you need to come to Enterprise Apps, find the Contactzilla Entra importer, and you can search for this in the search box. So Enterprise Apps, find the Contactzilla Entra import. You can check the application ID here, E64E0 is the same. Click across into here. On the left-hand side down to Permissions, and then you'll need to grant admin consent for Contactzilla. You can see the permissions that it's looking for down here, and if you click this, it will open a box and ask you to go through. Now you'll obviously need to be an administrator of the Entra workspace, and then you accept this. And then that will give the importer permission to read from the directory. Coming back to Contactzilla, you select your connection, click Continue, and it's going to ask you for the tenant ID that we copied in the other step. I'm going to paste that across there. This step here just specifies whether it's going to be a manual import or a scheduled one. We recommend that typically you run this every day, depending on your requirements. But initially, you probably want to just run it manually just to see how it works. You can change this at a later date, and I will demonstrate that in a moment. So we'll leave this as manual for now. This sync mode is not actually relevant to Microsoft Entra. It will always pull across all of the contacts. You can restrict the columns if you want, but unfortunately it's not possible to know these columns ahead of time. So if you want to do this, you can put the columns in here as per the fields that come across in the import, and if there's a problem it will actually show you a failure with the available fields, but it's not necessary to do this. Typically you always want to click Sync Now on Update. If you don't click this, it will set up the import, but it won't necessarily bring across any contacts. So I'm going to tick that box. We click Continue. And at this point, it's going to set up the Microsoft Entra connection. And we'll wait for this to complete. The import's now set up on the back-end side, and it's starting to pull the data across, so we'll just wait for this. Okay, so it's now pulled across the data and it's asking me to map the fields. What we recommend you do is for the ID field, map it to a hidden custom unique field. Hidden custom unique, and then give it the title that you want. We would recommend something like MSID or Entra ID. This field is unique to the Entra user, and by mapping it to a hidden custom field, it means that future updates will target the correct contact. So if there's any changes to, say, for example, this particular ID, it will make sure that it updates that contact and that contact alone. So this is a really important step for the process. Also, because it's a hidden custom unique and not just a custom unique, it means that this data won't actually get pulled down to the devices, so regular users won't see it. It will only be visible in the web interface to administrators. We've already mapped these fields, so we're just going to go ahead with the mapping that we've got, but obviously you can map these to different fields accordingly to your requirements. We have roles and groups, so if I just show you this, you can use a filter here to filter based on a certain group. That filter box allows you to specify records that you want to include, or you can actually put regular expression patterns in there. And I'll demonstrate how that might work with the mobile field in a second. I'm going to ignore groups, I'm not going to import it. You could import them as labels, for example, and then every group would become a label because that's comma delimited. And we'll just leave these fields as they are, but you can work through these fields, ignoring and mapping them as you require. So this is quite a common scenario with Entra. People want to import users that actually have got a mobile number and ignore everything else. So in order to achieve that, what we can do is for the mobile field that we've already mapped to phone and mobile, we can add a filter here, enable the filter, and we can put a regular expression here to say that this field must contain numbers. Now this is quite a convoluted expression, but nothing terribly complicated. It's just saying we want digits, spaces, or certain characters that appear in a phone number. You'll find that ChatGPT is, or any other AI, is pretty good at writing regular expressions for matching things such as email addresses. You could match an email address that just had your domain name in it, for example. They just need to be specified in this particular format, which is a PHP format. And when it's correct, it will go blue. So I will leave that filter enabled. Just close that box. And you can see it says there's one filter up here. We'll leave these blank. And then finally, would you like to handle delete? So with Microsoft Entra, I'm going to pick yes here. There's a field that indicates if the account is enabled. So there's no mechanism to determine if an account has been deleted in Entra. But if you disable the account first, it will set this flag and that will allow the contact to be deleted. So by clicking yes to handle delete and ticking this box here, when account enabled becomes false, it will actually delete that contact from Contactzilla. So at that point, that's mapped. I'm going to continue and it will save the mapping. I then need to determine how I want to handle duplicates. Typically, we find that most organizations want to replace the contacts in Contactzilla completely if there's an update from Entra, so you would pick replace. Skip means that it's going to keep the information in Contactzilla, and if it changes in Entra, nothing's going to happen. And merge means that you can still make changes in Contactzilla, and if it changes in Entra, it will merge the data in. So replace is typically the best bet for this, but it depends on your use case. So I'm going to click continue. And you can see it's actually filtered out 2 records and imported 1. And it's filtered out 2 records because those records didn't have mobile numbers against them. So I'm going to click back to contacts, and you can see it's brought across Cristiano's details, and you can see here the MSID is being brought across for Microsoft Entra. Now, if we sync this down to a device, you would only see the name, phone number, and email address here. So just coming back across to the import and then into Microsoft Entra, you'll see that import, and you can see that it did one run, and I can click through into that run and it will show the data that it brought across. If I come back to the import again, there's some settings under here, so I can click through to settings, or I can also sync now. So if I sync now, that's going to run the import again. It's not going to require me to map it because I've already done the mapping, but it will import any new changes. If I come across to settings, this is where I can actually change the schedule, so I can now enable this to every day if I want, and I can click update. And that's it. That's the Microsoft Entra import. So thanks for your time. If you've got any problems, please reach out to support. We'll be happy to help you.